I am now streaming and recording.
Nice. No. What I wanted to say about Shinzo Abe, right? Or is that
Yes,
how you say his name? Shinzo
I
Abe? It's
I
something
would
good.
say it's Shinzo Abe.
But yeah, anyway, that guy, we all know the memes about, go have sex, get kids, and stuff like that.
Yes.
I actually, I asked the barista at the coffee shop that I usually go to, I asked her about this man, right? I
Uh-huh.
asked her like, "Oh, like you're probably not aware that he's a meme in the West, right? At all?" And she obviously said, "No, I did not know that." And then I asked her like, "Hey, like, is he like well liked? This prime minister, like, was he well liked?" Like,
Uh-huh.
it just seemed like he wasn't really that well liked. That, well, at least in the area I'm in, I don't want
He,
to dox myself, so I can't say it. He was not well liked. But
I mean,
when I asked her
he was
why,
shot, right? Wasn't he shot
no,
recently?
no,
Like,
because I asked her, he's still alive, right? And she said, yes, he's alive. She said,
y- yes, but he was shot by a Japanese guy because apparently, if I remember correctly, it was like a really big deal because uh, first Japan has no guns basically, and so the
yes,
guy actually created his own fucking gun. It was like a piece of shit, but and apparently he was shot because he was like it doesn't say exactly how, but he was connected to this cult,
holy
and like
shit, he died.
he
No, he
did.
did die.
Okay, yeah. So he was shot
What the?
because uh, the mother of the shooter was involved in this cult, and according to the
Yes,
shooter,
yes.
the Shinzo Abe was like either part of the cult or like promoting the cult, and so he wanted like revenge for it.
Yes, that cult, they have a big problem with it in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fat anime Jesus cult, in case no one knows who we're talking about. But when
What?
I say fat anime, you don't know the fat anime Jesus?
Buddha? No, I don't.
Okay, the leader of this cult that's called, I once knew its name. It slips me now. Their leader looks like fat anime Jesus. Or not, it doesn't look like fat anime Jesus, but the thing is that he's a cult leader, right? He has the fucking hair, the beard, and everything. But
Uh,
he did an anime about himself, like the
oh,
cult leader. And
oh,
he's very fat too. And in the anime, he's obviously thin and looks like Jesus. But like when you
um,
see a real picture of him, he's fat. So that's why it's called Fat Anime Jesus.
that's so good, actually. The fact that you would picture yourself as thin and in
Yeah.
real life you're obviously fat, it's like, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, they have a big problem with it, and they were also responsible for the fucking subway terror attack that
Oh,
struck Tokyo.
oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
if it's the same, it must be the same cult because that's what I heard. I might be completely wrong about that, but that's weird because I asked her yesterday because I was also like, wasn't he shot? And I said, hey, is he is he still alive? And she said, yeah, he still has power, but maybe she misunderstood who I was talking about. Maybe she thought I was talking about like the prime minister they have now. So I will
Maybe,
just show.
maybe alive means something else, for them,
True, it might mean like, yeah, his ghost comes in here. It's an Onryo. Be careful.
No, I mean,
Just
like,
like
maybe,
shoot away.
maybe it's like a Roman notion of life, Like, as long as people remember you, then you're still alive.
True, could be. No, but no. I have to show her a picture of it. Sorry, of him. Yeah, tomorrow and say like this guy. Like yes, because now I need to ask more because I asked her like was he like as I said tried to ask her like why didn't you like her or like him, and she couldn't really answer. She couldn't give the answer. Like I'm sorry, I can't explain really.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know why she didn't like him or why the people in the area I'm in right now didn't like him.
Hmm.
But maybe they just really hate sex and really love work instead. And I mean, then it would make sense, right?
Maybe. I'm pretty sure that if you asked anyone random about a politician, they would probably say they either liked or didn't like them. And if you ask for explanation, like basically no one would be able to give it, because people don't actually think about this stuff. They just absorb the opinions of people around them without thought, mostly.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when you look at certain streams and stuff, and they talk about let it be fucking Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro, and someone says, "Hey, why don't you like him?" And they can never answer. The best example of this was Joe Rogan on yeah, it was on his podcast. One of his guests said, "Yeah, I had there was this acquaintance that said she hated you and thought you were like a far right Nazi." So instead of like being angry at her, I just calmly asked her to explain herself, and just started like calmly, okay, ask a question so I could understand why she thinks you're a Nazi, yo. And we got when it got down to it, it's because you work out and you go to the gym. That's why you're a Nazi.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. Cause I go to the gym, and obviously, therefore,
So you lift for the Fourth Reich. I understand. It's fine.
yes. Have you seen that actually the green text of the guy on 4chan being like, when I'm lifting and trying to break a personal record, I imagine that on the other side of the mirror, the scientists of the German Reich are trying to find a perfect Aryan specimen, and so I give it my all.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just surprised me.
yes. People need things to motivate themselves. Who are we to judge?
But it's just, I don't know, man. It's just strange, like how people. It's just where the fuck have we ended up? That's just how it feels like. You know what? Like working out, you're a fucking far right nuts. Because I thought that was a meme
It
at
is.
first, but
I
then
mean,
like no.
it obviously
But people
probably
really
is a
think
meme, but some people actually do live their lives um, like that. They because it's not just the Nazis. There's also I live for the glory of Rome or whatever. People try
yeah.
to attach themselves to some higher meaning, whichever they can grasp. And
Mhm.
let's say that for whatever reason, past empires seem to have a lot of sway among men, and that's how it goes, I guess.
I mean, I never got the whole Roman Empire meme. Like people just think about Roman stuff because they're obviously wrong. The only empire that ever mattered was the Athenian one. The
Um,
fucking Athenian. That's my go-to empire. I think about a lot.
there's no Athenian empire. There never was, my dude. Athens is a fucking city, and yeah, it's a city state, but it never really like the most it did is control a bunch of Greek places. That's not an empire. That's barely Greece.
Yeah, but it's better than fucking Rome that stole everything from the Greeks, more or
Um,
less.
if they didn't want to have it stolen, maybe they shouldn't make it so stealable.
Also, there's another reason, like because that's the thing why I generally am not that impressed by, like, on a serious note, why I'm not that impressed by Rome. I mean, for a military force, like, the, sorry, for their military capabilities, sure, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but all their culture and everything was just stolen from the Greeks, which is like now people just want to talk about their military performance and stuff, like how they performed well in war. That's cool, like I get that, but like their culture, it's just Greek culture.
Yeah,
That's all it
but
is.
I actually
That's
don't think that that's a negative necessarily, because I think that because it's not all of it, it's a lot of it. That's true, but this is actually like one of the cool things about Rome, which is that they adapted whatever they thought was great about the cultures that they integrated. So it is very much a cosmopolitan in that sense. It's not it is not just yeah, we do things like this, and if you do things differently, you're wrong sort of culture.
Yeah, and then on a personal note, it's also because they took that fucking 10, how tall was it now? 10 meters or something.
Mm.
Essentially, a big fuck off Athena statue. They just took it from Athens and then brought it to circus in not in Rome but in Constantinople.
Hmm.
And then in a riot in Constantinople, it broke.
If
And
you
it's
don't
like,
want to
okay,
have
if,
it
if you're gonna
stolen,
steal, but if you're gonna steal the fucking statue, at least make sure you don't break it.
I
Now no
mean,
one can see it.
I mean, you know, that's why people hate the British, right? They just stole everything from everywhere around the world and then put it in museums.
Mm. So you support the stop oil protesters? You think they're based?
Who?
These stop oil protesters? You think they're based because they destroy art?
Uh, who's protesters? I don't know who you're talking about, but yeah, no, I'm
You
not
haven't.
generally in favor of destroying art. I am in favor of, making fun of the British, though.
Man. Actually, this actually brings us in, so not completely smoothly, but it brings us all the same. What I found so because Britain, right? It's like what is so strange is that when you ask people from there if it's bad, all of them say yes. Like yes, it's that bad. It's like in Brazil when it's like, oh, we're just joking about Brazil. And like then you meet a Brazilian who's like, no, it's actually that bad. It's like okay, it's the same with Britain, right? Because this will lead into what I want to talk to you about is that they had this. I don't know if you saw it, but they had this talk show where they were talking about male suicides, right? And
Mhm.
then within 5 minutes, it turned into talking about females and
Yes.
female struggles.
Hmm.
And it's like at this point, it's like, yeah, you know,
I
would we?
understand why. Like, this is not necessarily the greatest example of something that's, um, you know, how they put it. It isn't a great example of the fact that society pays way more attention to women than it does to men, because it is also the case that, you know, if people were talking about female struggles, someone would try to bring up male struggles more likely than not, right? Just because
Mm.
you're, for whatever reason, you're limiting the topic to half of the population, and it begs the question as to why. And so maybe you'd have to bring it up. But I do think that at least people would have, they would be shamed if they try to bring it up about men when they're talking about women. And I don't know if they are shamed if they try to bring it up about women when they're talking about men, because
I mean,
that
not on the
it isn't,
show, but
uncool to be the supporter of women. In fact, you get a lot of brownie points if you say that you're a supporter of women. So
yeah, I mean, the thing is like what happened in that show, and I mean, I used to watch some clips and everyone, because I mean, so that's why it's not the best example for me to bring up, right?
mhm.
But it just, I don't know, like it's every time because every time you bring that up, right, or like bring up the male suicide rate or how men are feeling lonely, right,
Mhm.
it's strange to me that yeah, well, not strange. It's actually it's not strange at all. It actually makes sense because that's the thing as like a man, like that you learn that no one will really care about your struggle. You just have to hopefully you have like a father or like of course a mother that also cares about you, right?
Yes,
And that you can talk to a few people about it, and then you have to sort your shit out yourself. That's it.
yes,
Go. Good
yes.
luck. Good luck, bro. Good
Or
luck.
you become a fanboy,
And
and then you can
exactly.
just. I mean, I literally think that a lot of people become fanboys or trans or whatever because they see what women have as, I don't know how to put it in a nice way, so I won't try. They are able to, let's say, um, how do I put it actually? They are able to prorogate the time that they have in which other people are willing to share their load with them. So when you're a kid, you get to ask other people to do stuff for you, and people will do it because you're a kid. And when you grow up, you start losing that. privilege, let's say. But as far as I can tell, for women, if you're having a hard time, you can ask people and they will help. And for men, it's way harder. And so I think one of the reasons that some people turn to this, feminine.
Only if you're hot though.
Yes, obviously, but if you turn to this like feminine, uh, sort of, yes, I am going to depend on you to help me, uh, let's say pattern, such as femboys and stuff. It's like you're trying to uh keep that privilege, let's say, going.
Yeah, no, I sort of agree, but how do I say it? I mean, it also depends when you say a lot, right? But I mean, I understand what you mean. Like a majority of that's the thing. It it depends though, like where you go, like and look at these things. Because I mean, for example, in Sweden, it's and when I hear like people talk about trans stuff there, right? It seems more like it's genuine and it's real. You know that these people. So if you say a lot of like a majority or something, I'm not saying you did, but if someone said a majority of trans people in Sweden just do it for attention, I would disagree. But if you
Mm-hmm.
go to a fucking liberal university in America, I would be like, yes, most of these people are just doing it for attention. Most
Mm-hmm.
of these people are not trans. So it depends. But anyway, I mean, to move on, or like not move on, but to bring more to a point there, is that the thing is like I do believe that a lot of people they have freedom, but they don't know what to do with it. And Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, right?
Yes.
And I mean, the thing is like you need to set up your own rules and stuff and be your own tyrant. That's for me what freedom is in a way, not completely, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have those things, like yeah, it's hard. As I also think it's my point is that sure some of it is could be that they just want the attention and want someone to look out for them, and if that is like just a guy fucking them as a fanboy, then at least he gets some attention, right?
Yes.
But
Plus, they probably will pay their bills and stuff.
yeah, but they also need a meaning, and in there they find their meaning, which is kind of a weird flex, but okay, But not, I say that in jest, right? It is weird that you would choose that as a meaning, but who am I to judge? I don't
Yes.
think it's good for you in the long run to choose that as your meaning, but I'm not gonna fucking stop you because I'm not a fucking communist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is like because that's the next point too, right? That's also what I'm getting at with the manifestation of toxic masculinity. And I know I saw, what you wrote to me and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I'm not using toxic masculinity in a retarded way because you know me.
Here's
I'm
the problem,
literally
though.
when
I
I
don't know how you're using, so I am going to ask you to define it because people use it both ways and ways that don't make sense and ways that do. And it is a buzzword, I told you, toxicity, and people
yeah,
usually, try to like ham, what's the word for it? Whatever, gerrymander, let's say, the definition so that it becomes whatever it is good for them to try to make it be. So they would say that I don't know, man cooking steaks is a toxic masculinity or whatever, and
that's the
you're
problem.
just
That's the
supposed to
problem.
yes, and you're just supposed to accept it as if this is
Yeah,
like men voted and decided, yeah, this is toxic. Who's the
yeah.
representative of men that has decided that this is
Ryan,
toxic?
Ryan, it's Ryan Gosling. Haven't you seen any matter? Ryan Gosling is the king of all men now. It changes from year to year, but right now it's Ryan Gosling is our king.
I see. I don't.
That's how it works.
I'm not. I guess I'm a rebel then because I don't follow him. But okay.
But to answer your question, I mean, short fucking answer would be like a circular definition. So let's not, because there will be like toxic masculinity is the toxic aspects of being male, or like toxic femininity is the aspects of toxic when you're being female. But then
Yeah.
it's a circular definition, so it doesn't
So
work. But if
so
we open it up so you understand what I mean, it's like this, right? that we both agree that there's something. Just answer yes or no on this one, so we
Mhm.
can move further faster. So we both agree that there is such a thing as a male experience and a female experience, generally on average, but not all the time, but generally on average.
I don't know if not all the time, but yes, there is this thing as female and male experience.
So if you get brought up as a man, you have certain experiences, you see the world a certain way and so forth. And same for females, of course. But let's go with males for now.
Mhm.
Then there are also certain things with male biology, right? You know
Uh,
that, ooga booga being one, right? And then
yes,
also being the whole, that men have this, what is it, like this propensity, I wouldn't say to violence. I wouldn't say propensity to violence because that's wrong. It's more that violence is in our arsenal much quicker than for a woman. So
yes,
for a woman, like it will resort to violence sooner or later. If like let's say there was only women on the planet, they would also have wars. Okay, I don't buy anything else. They would have wars or
obviously,
some form of
yes.
violence. Yes, but that's so far removed. That might be let's say 100 or 1,000 steps removed. Whereas for a man, that might be just 5 or 6 steps removed.
I actually like I understand
So,
where you're coming
so
from, but I don't know if that's true because women are more violent than men statistically.
I'm
Like
not.
we know
I'm not.
this.
Yes, but I'm not done. I'm talking specifically about men now. That was just a short example. The point here being that it is to be a protector and use violence to protect people or do something you have to do. That's not toxic. That's just being a human, right? Or being a man in this case, or being a protector, right?
Okay.
Now, toxic masculinity in this case would be if I use violence in that way in order to extort it or like in order to extort people, in order to terrify people, in order to be tyrannical, right? What I'm getting at is that it's like toxicity could just be replaced with tyrannical, like a tyrannical male or a tyrannical female in a way.
Mhm.
What I mean literally is that there is part of being a woman and being a male, on average, not all the time, that lends itself, that are important tools in our arsenal in order to go through our life and go through different decisions and stuff. The toxic part is when you use it in a tyrannical way. That's
Um.
how I would more or less define it. It's a very
Okay.
long definition,
The
but
problem is that that's not really a definition, though. It's like you're given an example, right? But what about the parts that are toxic that have nothing to do with violence?
such as
I mean, uh, because the actual definition of toxic masculinity, if you Google it, and the Oxford definition shows up, is the behaviors which are expected of men or women that are not that are either not good for men or women or not good for society. So
but what
um,
would good mean in that case? Then I disagree with that definition as well. Like, what do you mean good? I mean
um,
that's too vague.
yes, but
But what I mean essentially is tyrannical. So could we move on, like move forward? And I know you want to
we
respond, and that's
can't because
fine.
you're just hiding
But
good or bad behind tyrannical because you can just say, well, what do you mean tyrannical? Oh, I'm being violent to help someone, but I'm also hurting someone by doing so. Like, why is it tyrannical to hurt this person and not this person? You can endless
I mean,
debate this.
give me a second just to unpack what you said, or
Yes.
not unpack, but think what you just said. So tyrannical is at the end of the day to make someone do something, or in this case, I should say, is to make someone do something they don't want to do. And if you're not fine with such a definition, then I don't see how you would be fine with any definition of
Okay,
anything.
so for
So, like,
example, if a guy is hurting your wife and
yes,
you hurt him for him to stop, are you
yes.
not being tyrannical because you're trying to make him do something that he doesn't want to do, which is stop hitting your wife?
Yeah, but you're missing an important point here. Like he initiated the violence, I would assume, right?
Yes. So you have to add
So
that to
I'm not
the definition
initiating.
as well. So it's
No, no,
tyrannical
no,
if
no.
you start, but it's not tyrannical
He
if you
does it.
end. What?
Exactly. It's not tyrannical if you end something. It's not tyrannical.
Okay.
I mean, or what do you mean? I mean, for example, so let's say I come in to my house and there's just this man. Let's say fucking Aaron Jaeger. Aaron Jaeger is in my house attacking my wife,
Yes.
and I mean, I would lose that. Technically, I would lose that fucking fight, right? But
Yes.
no, I mean, but he's in the house hurting my wife, right?
Mm.
And then I beat up Aaron Jaeger and toss him outside, and then, in this case, Aaron Jaeger initiated the violence towards my wife. So I'm just
Mm.
protecting my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still saying that this could be tyrannical.
If you were to define tyrannical as using force to make someone do something that they don't want to do, then yes, that's still tyrannical.
So you mean in this case that Aaron Jaeger wanting to hurt my wife and me putting an end to it would then be tyrannical?
Yes, by that definition, yes.
But then, I mean, if you want to give me another definition of tyrannical, sure,
I
but
mean,
then
I
yeah,
don't
but then
mind.
you can't
I
understand.
don't mind that definition, but then you have to go and realize that what you're doing is you're hiding the good and evil behind tyrannical, and you're just applying
How would you
tyrannical.
define tyrannical? How would
Calm
you
down,
define tyrannical?
calm down. I just said I would accept it,
I am
but
calm. Yeah, okay.
you don't sound calm. I would accept it, but then you're hiding good and evil behind tyrannical. So what you're gonna do from them on is you're gonna say, well, this is tyrannical when you mean this is evil, and you say, no, isn't tyrannical. And then when you go down to the brass tacks, you realize that the reason you're saying this isn't tyrannical is because it isn't evil. And so what that definition you're actually using is tyrannical is when you use force to make someone do something they don't want to do, and you do it because it is evil or despite it being evil. Um, because you can also use force to stop someone from doing something that they want to do, and you do it for good reasons, and then you would agree that's not tyrannical, right?
Can you repeat the last part?
You can also use violence to stop someone from doing something that they are trying to do, and you can do it for good reasons, and then that wouldn't be tyrannical, and I think you would agree with that.
Yes, of course. I mean, let's say that my wife was trying to fucking kill a child, and I don't see that part. I just see Aaron Jaeger beating up my wife.
That's really complicated, but yes. The point being that we are not like the problem with toxic is that it actually means good or evil, right? We're saying this is evil, and that's what it
I
actually
don't
means.
agree with that.
How you are
I
actually
mean,
using the word that way?
I mean, if I let's say, what is it? What is that one called? Do you know about white? What is it called? Fuck me.
White guilt,
No, you know
white
what? Like,
privilege, white
yeah, yeah, exactly. No,
washing.
that's actually that was not. I don't know what I was going with it. But we have this. It's called white cap mushroom. The
What?
one you always see in fucking white cap mushroom. You know the red mushroom with white spots on it. You
White
know what I'm talking about?
cat mushroom.
No, no, but it's like you see it all the time in comics and stuff, and even probably in anime and fucking those things.
Oh,
It's
you
like a
mean
red
Amanita
mushroom.
muscaria?
Yes, that thing.
Okay.
And there is an even worse. Here's the thing. There's an even worse mushroom in the same family that's called the white cap. I think I might be wrong, but it's just called vit flugsvamp in Swedish. And I don't know how to. If I pronounce it word by word, it would be like white fly mushroom, which makes no fucking sense. But the thing here is the white cap mushroom that will fucking kill you like that, or like in a day if you don't get fucking hospital treatment,
Mm-hmm.
is toxic. We both agree that in this case, yes, that is a toxic mushroom, right?
So you're trying to use the literal definition of toxic uh as
No, no, no. I'm going back all the way up because right now, let me actually, I'm going to ask this question to you, and I think we can actually start move way forward now.
Okay.
Is that it feels to me that you're trying to say that these definitions are subjective, whereas I am saying no, they're objective, that there is the number for toxic. The toxic means something, like something objective. That if I bite into a white cap mushroom, I will fucking die. If I submit to toxic behaviors that would be part of the male experience, but used in a toxic way, toxic, then I would also die. Or like my soul would die or something. That's what I mean when I say toxic in this case.
So
I'm trying to use it as an objective ways.
I wouldn't agree.
God?
No, I wouldn't
Okay.
agree because
So,
like
okay, go.
I understand the usage of toxic in the literal sense as being something that is harmful to the body because our bodies are
Yes,
very
yes, yes, yes.
much very similar to each other. So if something's toxic to me, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably toxic to you. But you
Yes,
can
yes.
always come with, if you're allergic to gluten, you're gonna be fucked if you get gluten, but it's gonna be fine for me. Same for peanuts and same for a lot of stuff, right? It's like
Yes, yes,
it
yes,
is
yes.
not going to be the same for everyone, and it's obviously like not the same. Like it, it's not. I am not convinced by the argument that it's bad for the tyrant to be a tyrant. It's bad for the tyrant if he gets punished, sure. And I do understand that there are people who think that just being a tyrant is already bad for you enough, but I don't. I'm not convinced by that argument yet. And so
But then it feels you're an outlier. But if you're fine with being an outlier, that's fine.
I
But
don't
I'm pretty
know.
sure if we
If you're
ask,
the king, are you an outlier? I guess so.
I mean, what I'm getting at here is that most people, if we ask them, hey, is being a tyrant bad? They will probably be, yeah, it's pretty bad. That's like how we
It's bad
commonly
for everyone
understand.
else.
I mean, but now we're going into subjective experience again, right?
Yeah,
Because sure, I
that's
mean,
because
what
it
we
is
said is a
subjective.
king. No, it's not. I mean, a king. I mean, listen to this. A king, because do you see the problem we're running into now, Neil? Because
Mhm.
now we're gonna keep going up until I bring in God and the devil.
Yes,
Like, if you want to, we can go up this. I mean, based, right? But
yes,
that's the issue we're having now. So, if I say rather than we say toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, if we say evil masculinity and evil femininity, can we then move on with the conversation from that point?
yes. With
If
the
when I say
caveat that we are not necessarily going to agree on what's good and evil. Because it's even if you say that you believe that good and evil are objective, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to agree on it or that you're going to be right about it. So
I mean, yeah, but then we're getting to subjective, and the issue with that is that then we would have to go far back, and then we don't have. I mean, if we had like, I don't know, a week hashing this out, sure, but we don't. So because we both have work outside this, so we don't have the time.
yes,
But the thing here is that yeah, sure. I mean, so when I say toxic masculinity and toxic, just to make sure, when I say toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, in your mind you understand that to you, what I'm really saying is evil masculinity and evil femininity, and that's
yes,
fine for us to move on then with the
yes,
conversation.
and
And see,
I
that's
should
both evil and
also
good.
point out that this is like let me read the definition on Oxford and say why we are not using it, right? So here's the definition. Toxic masculinity, sorry, this is on Wikipedia. I'm not sure why it's showing this one now, but whatever. Toxic masculinity is thus defined by adherence to traditional male gender roles that consequently stigmatize and limit the emotions boys and men may comfortably express while elevating other emotions such as anger. And then it continues, right? So the problem why with the problem with this definition and why we're not using it is because it implies that first it has to be traditional. I don't think it needs to. I don't think it like first I don't think that masculinity is cultural. I think it's biological. And so tradition has nothing to do with it necessarily.
No,
And
I agree. We both agree on that point.
yeah, and second is it isn't a problem that it's traditional. It being traditional doesn't make it better or worse. As long as it's uh, common in culture, then it's a problem. If it's toxic, let's say. Um, and so it has nothing to
I
do
share
with
that.
being
I agree.
traditional. It has nothing to do with gender roles necessarily, because
But
masculinity and
before I
femininity.
forget,
Yeah,
before I forget, do they have toxic femininity as too on the
I
fucking Oxford one?
I would have to Google it. This is actually the fucking Wikipedia one, so I don't know.
Do they have it?
Uh, Look, if I this is so funny, dude. If I Google toxic femininity, do you know what shows up instead of the definition? It shows an article saying, "Is it really helpful to talk about toxic femininity?" And so
Oh my fucking god, that's so gay. I
it's
have no
not.
other word. That it's just gay. It's gay. That's what it
It
is.
it is obviously censorship, right? That's the word that actually describes what's happening. They're actually controlling the
Oh,
narrative by having two conversations and only allowing one to exist.
dude, I mean, censorship is gay, though, right? We both agree on that point, right?
Ah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of gay.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, no, that's the thing. But that's also something that I feel because that's a problem, right? And I think this is actually something we talked a long time ago about, or if we haven't, then okay, then I don't know. But
You're
anyway, my
crazy.
point here being exactly right. Just a little. Watch our stream, guys. We're streaming Baldur's Gate 3, okay? I can prove to everyone that I'm not crazy. Anyway, the thing is, like, there is a very good point to have about these issues: toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, or in your case, how you would say it, evil, good, whatever denominator, right? But the
Yes.
problem is that it feels like we're never allowed. We're only allowed to talk about the toxic masculinity, male toxic masculinity. But the second you start talking about toxic femininity, there's just so few places you can do it. For example, let's say Jordan Peterson can talk about it, right? Ben Shapiro can, and then some streamers on the left can, like for example, Shad Logic can do it, like Destiny, obviously. But that's also because they have huge fucking platforms and can't really get cancelled, right?
Yes. They are.
So
I mean, even Jordan Peterson is one of those, right?
yeah,
Like Joe Rogan.
yes,
There are people who basically they're outside the system. They don't depend on others for their income, or not exactly, but you know what I mean, right? They don't require
yes.
a platform to approve their words for them to speak, and that gives them the independence necessary to talk about the truth.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, like, because every time we try to talk about it, it's just nah. Even though there are parts of toxic femininity that does exist, but it's so cringe that just toxic masculinity exists, because then you also have the definition that Oxford uses, right?
Mm.
That traditional, then it's like, what do you mean traditional? Because I mean, let me just give you an example here, right? If we look at who are the biggest fucking scammers in the fucking, we talk culture traditionally, right? So right now in our culture, as it exists now, the year of our Lord 2023, you have these scammers right online that will scam people with Bitcoin and whatever, right?
Hmm.
And most of these people, I reckon, are men. So are we now saying that that's toxic masculinity? Like, is it now better because it's not traditional? Because it's cultural, it's just not traditional.
Hmm.
Because Bitcoin scammers haven't just existed for a while. Maybe not the best point they could make on the topic. But my point here being, right, is that it's just a bad definition that Oxford uses. I can't, but I mean, it's sad that they got co opted. It's very sad.
Yes, and I mean the problem is that this is never something that people will agree on. Like the problem with joining those words is that people seem to try to say essentially, and they all disagree if you actually point this out, but you actually see their behavior. They're basically saying that masculinity itself is toxic, right? You're basically saying that, oh, kids are play fighting. This is toxic masculinity. They're going to, uh, in the future, become unanswered criminals, like violent. They will oppress women. They will engage in domestic violence or something, because as kids they are, wrestling or something. Uh, and people are trying to correlate masculinity with toxic masculinity to like a high degree, as if any expression of masculinity was evil in itself. and has to be stamped out. And you saw this in Canada, right? Where Jordan Peterson describes it very well, where people were trying to essentially raise boys as girls and hoping that that would, because implicit is the notion that girls are better than boys. That's implicit, right? Um,
Yes, when you say if you don't have the counter factual and you only talk about one side, yes, completely
yes.
agree.
And so let's raise boys as girls because then they're gonna be more behaved because girls don't go to jail as often or whatever. Um, and that's like a great idea, but the problem is that this notion that, well, it's not a great idea. Let's point it. Let me scratch that. But let's say that it's true that girls are better than boys at not going to jail, right? Because statistically, that's not false. So, who is it better for if everyone is like a girl? That's a question you can answer if you want.
Who is it better for in society if everyone is a girl? Is that what
Yes.
you ask?
Yes.
I mean, if you're asking me personally, no one, no one. You're not gonna get rid of masculinity that way because
Yes.
guess
But
what? Women also have some masculinity. But if someone like them asked, they would say, "Oh, it's actually women. Everyone should be like women, and it's fine." You know?
I mean, maybe. But like, what I'm trying to get at is, it is way easier to control women. Way easier because they're not going to be what's the word for it? They're not gonna be the freedom fighters. Let's put it that way. They're not gonna be the front line against the government. And I'm not trying to like denigrate the women who actually go on protests and stuff. That's not my point here. My point is that as a class, women are not the fighters, obviously. And
No.
when you're trying to like disencourage masculinity by making boys like girls, what you're doing is you're creating a more easily controllable populace. That's what you're doing. And so it's great, you're gonna have a population which, in their theory, this is actually completely fucking wrong. But in their theory, they were going to create a population which was less criminal and got less into trouble and stuff. But let's say even if that was true, like, do you actually think that women are better for society than men on average? Like, is that really something that you believe? Because the reason that men go to jail more often than women is not because women commit less crimes. It's because men commit violent crimes and women commit other crimes. That's how it goes.
So this is what I will say, which is the thing I'm always very, not always scared of. That sounds like I will like fucking cry myself to sleep and stuff. I do cry myself to sleep, but not because of that, right? But
It's
seriously,
because you're a leftist.
exactly right. No. But seriously, is this that it's very and people just it's like this they miss this point completely. Like they can't look. Give me 1 second. I just need to. Okay, cool. Anyway, what I'm getting is that I miss this point completely because if you keep pushing out men and to a point where they feel left out of society and stuff. And I'm not saying like because men handling feelings is completely different than how women treat feelings. And there is some talk that men should be more open talking about their feelings and stuff. And sure, but we talk about them in a different way. That's a caveat I will give. But to get to my point here, right?
Mhm.
If you can you hear me? Yeah, okay, you're still very good. Now, my
Yes.
point here being that if you keep pushing men out and you keep deriving them of meaning and telling them that the stuff they want to do has no meaning and they can't do it, sooner or later, and it's not that far away, I feel, you just need one man to stand up like a horrible man. Let's say this is like what we're talking about, like an actual tyrant. Like I'm talking about the type of tyrant when both you and me will look at him and go, "Yes, this is a tyrant. This is
Andrew Tate.
100% a tyrant." Exactly right.
I mean,
And
I'm
then
not
just
actually
Andrew
joking. I do
Tate,
think that he's pretty much that.
yes, yes, an Andrew Tate, character.
Yes.
Like just imagine if that guy was in power or like in real power in America or something, and
Mhm.
rally all the men like, "Hey, wasn't it better before in the 50s?" Even though the guy probably would know fuck all about the 50s, right? But you remember me with this example, right? And then he
Yes.
says like, yeah, let's just all go out and vote. If we all of us vote, it's fine. And then they keep voting. Like it's not hard to see where it leads. Then it's gonna be. Then we're gonna step all the fucking way back when it comes to fucking gender equality. We'll go all the fucking way back, right? Because then
Mm-hmm.
you also have the issue that you have. Because here's the thing that no one wants to talk about. It's like I hear this a lot, like from, and I might be wrong, and I might take the L on this. If someone proves me wrong, it's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do see a lot of women when they reach a certain age and they can't have their own children anymore. It doesn't seem that fun because yeah, but and it just yeah, it just sucks. And what I'm getting with that point, right, is this that if you keep it just seems like it's going in a very dark direction for men in that way. And it's like, and the worst part to bring it back to the example I brought up earlier, right? With in Britain, when that guy tried to talk about male suicide, and then all of a sudden it became all about women.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, when can we talk about men's issues? Because I mean, I don't really agree with a lot of lefties that say like, oh, like women are better talking about their emotions and stuff like that. It's like, it's not really that. They just have a different way of talking about their emotions. Because, for example, I have like male friends that, I mean, sure, they get emotional sometimes to me. I get emotional to them back, but it's rare. I mean, it happens differently for men, and that's just how we are, and that's fine.
Mm.
The issue is like if you keep telling men that they can't even do that. Like now, male friendships is toxic masculinity. Probably you can probably Google it and find it. That
Mm-hmm.
male friendship is now toxic masculinity, right?
Yes.
But the only and then it feels like you're saying the only way you can solve this is by being more like women. And then it's like, hang on, why aren't you more like men then? And then it's just back at it again, and it's just
No, that's
the
not actually a
manifestation.
problem
Yeah,
though, because there it is actually the case that um what is happening is, and unfortunately, I guess you didn't see the video that I sent you like way back when, um, but it's a really good video. It shows how what is happening in culture, especially in like Disney and those popular Marvel movies, and you know the stuff that is being
awesome.
consumed by
No,
everyone is
yes.
people are taking traditional masculine virtues such as courage and strength and saying those are evil if a man has it. But if a woman has it, then it's empowering and liberating and great. And so
I
it
need
is
to
the case
interject.
that
Yeah,
they are
no,
trying to make women into men as well.
please.
What?
Just it's a very important point I have to interject with here,
Okay.
because I think because what you said there about these masculine virtues about courage and stuff, and here's the thing, what I find because I need to bring it up because otherwise I might forget it is that these virtues are also in women. They're just expressed differently, right? Just very brief example with courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Courage could be sure. Courage could be the example like me beating up Alan J. Geiger, fucking beating up my wife, right? That could be courage. But
Mm-hmm.
courage is also fucking giving birth, right?
Mm.
I mean, a woman giving birth is very courageous, in my opinion, right? So
Okay.
so, and I just wanted to bring that up. That it's like it's so interesting that they just copy paste the male ones, but without realizing that hey, you also have them. They just expressed in a different way. Anyway, go on.
Yes, but that's not relevant to what I'm saying because what I'm talking about is essentially getting traditional forms of courage and strength and applying them to women. So you're gonna have women beat up men, for example. And it's usually not enough that they beat the men. They actually have to humiliate them and make them look incompetent while they do it, because that otherwise you're not, defeating the patriarchy or whatever. Um, and this is happening like as as often as you can think in basically every movie that features women in a position of power, and that's essentially every fucking popular movie nowadays. So you can't say that women are not being forced into male virtues or they have to be more like men, because they are. And in fact, this is probably happening ever since the 50s, which are women are like, World War. We need more people working, so let's get women into the workplace. And all of a
Yes,
sudden
yes.
there's a whole campaign which is, trying to, like a propaganda campaign, which is trying to conflate, being a good woman to being a good worker, for example. And this is something that was never the case before. Um, Not in the, let's say, bourgeoisie sense of work, but it's become like this. And so, yeah, I
I
don't want
disagree.
to
But
try to I don't want to try to paint, you know, this as something that's only hurting men for some reason, because it's not the case. Like, there is obviously, like, let's say, how do I put it, marketing wise, or like, narrative wise, it is the case that men are being cast aside, but women are suffering symmetrically. Just they're not being. They think that they are actually gaining something by it, but it's not the case.
I mean, I see what you mean, but here's the thing, right? That I fucking love capitalism, and I think men and women working together in the workforce has brought capitalism to the forefront, which is why I think that's a good thing to get women into the workforce. Yet, I don't like the whole thing when, as a choice, right? So I just felt it important because, yes, so we know, but I sort of feel we agree on this point anyway, is that the thing is like, because it gives everyone more money and stuff like that. But the thing that I don't like, and this is what you did point out, or sort of you nudged in that direction, is that we're now pointing out like female, like a mom staying at home and not working, as that this is bad somehow. Like if it's like a woman staying at home taking care of the kids, that's bad now. And this is obviously wrong. I mean, there should be a choice. If a woman wants to go and work, go for it. If she doesn't and wants to stay home and take care of the kids, go for it. I don't care. So, but I do understand like the drive to put women in the workforce. It's like, yeah, it's a thing. I understand why it happened because people wanted more money. That's it. And I
Yes.
mean, we built great things, and due to it, we built great things in society. But to bring back, because yeah, I need to go very soon,
Mm-hmm.
in 2 minutes. But I will say this: that the reason I brought up the parts of courage and how it comes differently, and how I felt it related back to what you said, right, was because you brought up that oh yeah, these male virtues are being brought out in. Sorry, the male virtues are being copy pasted onto women. And my
Yes.
point was that sure in a way, but they're missing the reason they're copy-pasting those ones is because they're too retarded to understand that those virtues also exist in women. They're just expressed in a different way.
Yes.
That's why I brought what I brought up. But yeah, I mean, I feel this is a. Unless you had some final point you wanted to make, I feel like this is a good place to stop. It was an
No,
interesting
I don't think
conversation.
so. I think it's fine.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. And as I said, like I will. But to be fair, like then I might actually see, or might what I meant to say is that then I will see that video you sent me before, and we can talk about it next time.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I sent it to you, so I have to go find it actually.
Yeah, resend that to me, please.
Okay.
But also, I sort of also know what you're talking about because I watched The Critical Drinker a lot, but I also watch. This is a very great canary in the coal mine if you ever want to see one. But it is a long drag, so maybe not. But Jeremy Johns, he's like just a standard movie commentator, right? Not political at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not. I think he's left wing, but that's more because that's where he lives.
Mm-hmm.
But he grown up in a very very left area, right? But even he has started calling it out, and then it's bad when like the normies are doing it. Then
Yes.
okay, now it's getting bad. But yes, it was fun talking to you.
Same. It's always fun talking with you, Gregor, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot that we can still say about it, but maybe we can continue at a later date.
Yeah, as I said, we can talk about it next week. I know it
Okay.
felt like a good place to stop. Yeah, take care, dude.
Yeah. See ya.